7 decades of searching. Seven decades of learning. It's probably better. Love 177. I normally don't give a date, but today is Wednesday the 25th of October 2023. The reason why I'm giving this date is because on the 1st of November, yours truly, I turned 90. Now I know I don't look it, but yeah, it's my birthday, and I'm not into birthdays. I keep away from them. I don't celebrate them particularly. They're not. They're just not something I try not to. I try not to be too involved with time. I think there's only one time, and that's what you're doing at the present moment. Now, but nonetheless, that's the way it is. And also, I haven't done a video for quite some time. Reason being, I don't think I see no point in just making a video just merely to say something, unless it's reasonably worthwhile. I've never chased subscribers. I've never asked anyone to subscribe to my channel in all the time that I've had. That doesn't mean to say I don't appreciate anyone who subscribed to me. Of course I do. But it's not an issue. I'm not in it for the money or the number of subscribers or whatever. If I was, I'd be doing one a week or something like that. I have guidance. I have guides, and they change. If they don't change, well, they tend to make me change for one reason or another. And so and also I go to a guy called Ezio. He's a spirit medium. He's a bit hard to contact, unfortunately, at the moment. But my mother's always there, and her advice to me was, spirituality is, one's spiritual life is serious, he said, but there's no need to be serious about it. And in fact, they tell me, look, relax, be more laid back, enjoy life. So that's what I try and do. But the primary reason why I've made this video is that I've thought about what is it that in these last 90 years, but what is it at this particular point in time, what is it that I really believe in, I truly believe in? What are my beliefs? Now, I don't like religion. I'm not religious. I've got a religious bone in my body, thankfully. So I don't have any problems about heaven or hell or day of judgment or stuff like that, which I think is just psychological torture for so many people. But I do have spiritual beliefs, and I've been involved in the mystic side of things. But I'll go into that a little bit later. So I just want to start by telling a quick joke, and the reason being is I just want to be a bit more laid back, and although I'll be a bit more serious in a minute, let's start with a little bit of lightness. And it appears that I may have even told this one before, but there was in this train there was a priest and a rabbi, and the priest thought he'd have a little bit of fun at the rabbi's expense, and he said, Rabbi, he said, you Jews, he said, you don't eat pork, do you? And the rabbi said, oh, no. And he said, but tell me, you ever tried like bacon and eggs or something like that? And the rabbi said, yeah. He said, I did. I said, in actual fact, it was bacon and eggs. He said, for breakfast once. And the priest said, enjoyed it? Yeah, of course, it was quite tasty. He said, but that was the only time. So they're going along a bit further, and the train's travelling along, and the rabbi said to the priest, can I ask you something personal, Father? He said, yeah, of course. He said, you priests, Catholic priests, you're celibate, aren't you? He said, oh, yeah. He said, no sex. He said, "Tell me, Father, did you ever try? Did you ever have sex?" And he said, "Oh, the priest replied, "That's pretty personal." He said, "Oh, come on," I answered you. "Oh," he said, "Yeah, I did. He said, "But only once." The rabbi said, "It beats eating pork, doesn't it?" Okay. Levity over. Let's be a bit more serious. What have I learned? What are my beliefs? Well, I thought, well, look, I'll write them down and just lay them out. And I thought, well, so I did. I tried to put them down and put them down as clearly as I could. And it wasn't difficult because it's what I believe, and it's what I've come to believe. But what, to my mind, it's nothing to do with religion. It's spiritual, mystical maybe, but it's not. It's just my belief, and I think it's the beliefs for just a decent human being, any decent human being. But there's a couple of important things in it. So I've set them down, and I'll, without further, as they say, without further ado, I'll just put them for you. And okay, my personal beliefs. There's a creator of all, which I'll refer to as the source. Now, the reason for that is both around about 500 BC on the west, it was Socrates, and over in the east, the same period, 500 BC, there was Lao-Tzu. But they both came to the conclusion that there must be an origin for everything. So Socrates, through the writings of Plato, he called it the source, because they had all the Greek gods. He said, no, there has to be a source of everything. So if you take everything back, there has to be a source, a beginning. And he said, I'd call it the source of all. So I go along with that. Lao-Tzu, he said, it's from the beginning there was one, then there's two, then there's three. From three became everything. It's unknown, it's unknowable, so I'll call it the Tao. And again, Socrates said it's unknown, obviously to our human comprehension. So I have to agree with both of those, and I think it's logical as well. Although it's unknowable, and at the same time, the source is the source of all love and healing. The source is unknown. It's beyond our human comprehension. Only the source knows itself. Upon creation, we are each given a divine spark from the source, which makes us one with the source. Everything created has a divine spark, but not everything created has a soul, which is a part of our spiritual progression. So as Rumi said, the Persian philosopher, he said, I was created as a rock, then I became a plant, from a plant I became a person, and so there's this progression. So he put it that way. I'll put it down for you. It's quite lyrical the way he actually put it, our progression as we go from one stage to another. All of creation will ultimately return to the source. We are all loved equally by the source. Therefore, there is no inequality of the sexes. No one is better or less than another. There is karma. Every positive action will be rewarded positively, just as each negative action will be returned negatively. Not to punish, but so we can learn from our actions. We will reincarnate lifetime after lifetime until we have learned to love ourselves and others unconditionally. There is no heaven, no hell, no day of judgment, but there is a world of spirit. There is no death, only a transition of energy and frequency into another higher loving and understanding state of being. None of the natural actions of our body, such as eating or sex, are sinful, though they may harm us if done to excess. We are each on our own personal, spiritual and mystic journey. Even so, we should assist others if and when we can. Our world can change, but only after we have changed ourselves for better or worse. Our universe is but one of an infinite number of other inhabited universes, many much older than ourselves. That about sums up my personal beliefs that I've put it together in that form. Take from it with what you will. you agree or don't agree. That happens to be mine, and I can say I've been probably searching it out over the last 70 years. Another thing that's come up a few times. I saw this guy yesterday, in fact, and I said, "Hey, I just met him. But how are you getting on?" He said, "Oh, not bad." He said, "I'm getting on, mate." He said, "I'm 68." And I thought, "Oh, okay." But he was balding, grey hair, wore glasses. And I said, "Well, I can give you a couple of years, mate." I said, I'm turning 90 shortly." But he said, not just him, other people have said, "How do you do it?" And I just feel I'm not into giving advice on health. I don't normally do that. But at the same time, I've been asked a number of occasions, so I thought, oh, well, I'll broach the subject now. I think it's extremely important that I'm not religious, because I think religion tells you, well, the Islamic, most religions tells you there's judgment and there's God and there's sin and there's guilt and so that stuff, and I have absolutely nothing to do with that at all. Another factor is I don't worry, and my ex-wife, we're great mates, we're good friends, and she said, "But don't you worry about the grandkids?" She said, don't you worry about me?" And I said, don't you worry about the state of the world?" I said, no, not in the slightest. I said, and I'll give you the reason. I don't worry because worry to me is a negative action, and you're just sending out more negative energy to that situation. So I'd rather send out good thoughts, healthy thoughts, best wishes, whatever it happens to be, as long as it's positive, and which may help the situation. But worry, I think, just makes the situation worse. If worry helped, if I thought it helped, I'd worry, but I don't. So therefore, I keep away from it. But sometimes I think, oh, gee, I wonder what's happening, and I start to worry, and then straight away I push that. That's the brain speaking. I push the brain to the side, and I just, it's like a trigger. I then wish the person or the situation, I just wish it the best. I would class myself as a Gnostic in this respect, that I believe in taking personal responsibility for my actions, not laying it on will of God or being a slave to somebody or other, submitting to some, I believe, standing up for yourself, taking responsibility for your own actions and doing something about it if you can. The thing is, again, which has come up, I don't wear glasses. I have 20/20 vision. I can see close and I can see distance. But the one thing I don't do, I don't look at a cell phone. I use a cell phone. I use it, and I have it. I use it as an alarm clock. I have used it as a torch on occasions, and I use it for making phone calls. But if I need to do anything else, I use a computer, or I use an iPad. I use something big. I don't look at it. And I'm just reading an article, you know, there's kids who are 4 years old now with reading problems. In Australia, there are children, 18, 20 years old, who are legally blind from watching their phone. When I'm saying they're legally blind, they can't see if they don't wear glasses. And he said, this is just getting worse and worse by the year. So I don't do that. I don't wear glasses. I don't wear sunglasses. I've never worn sunglasses simply because when I did, 50, 60 years ago, I just felt uncomfortable with them. I never worn them since then. And I in fact, early in the morning or late in the evening when the sun's going down, I actually look at the sun to strengthen my eyes. And I've learnt that this we need this our peripheral vision and looking, and also the sun, the bright sun hitting our eyes for healthy vision. Now I just did it. I didn't know. Hearing, well, I don't. I like music. I like if it's dance music, I like a bit loud. Apart from that, I prefer classical music, but dance music, I'm very I enjoy my music. So I haven't done anything else apart from that. I haven't damaged my ears, although so that seems to be okay. I think the big thing is diet. I had many years ago I had a Big Mac, and I thought, well, that's the worst. And I used to cook. And I used to pride myself on the hamburgers that I cooked, and with a nice toasted bun, which is a crunchy bun. And I had this Macca's burger, and God, this is terrible. The cheese is terrible. I've never eaten any since then. So I keep away from that type of food. I don't drink. I never drink Coke or Pepsi, that type of stuff. I just drink water or juice or what have you. The big thing is that I think that separates, as far as health is concerned, two things. One is that many years ago, I'm talking 35 years ago, I saw this, there's a group of people, and they were examining the skeleton, which they dug up or excavated. And there was 4 or 5 of them. And this other biologist came along, and he's looking at them, and they were just debating as to where the origins of this particular skeleton, these bones, and it was a full skeleton. And the guy who just arrived, he just said, he was a scientist, probably a biologist, but he just said, oh, it's a hunter-gatherer. And they said, we've been here for 20 minutes talking about this, and you just arrived. He said, how can you tell that? He said, look, perfect set of teeth. He said, the bones are strong. He said, there's no lesions in the bones. So there's no disease. He said, it's a hunter-gatherer. Because there was no disease, when I say there's no disease, there's no chronic diseases, things like we call diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, hyperglycemia, diabetes. These are modern chronic diseases. And we never had any until we started to settle down, and we grew our grains, and the Egyptians, the Sumerians and people like that, and once they settled down and they grew the grains, and then we started to get our chronic diseases, which we have today, and which we can tell by our teeth. So I thought, well, I think I'll stick to the hunter-gatherer diet. That'll do me. So I did that probably 35 years ago. I have no idea. Maybe 40 years ago, I got no idea when it was. But I decided at that point in time, so I just eat meat, fish, fowl, whatever, as long as it's fresh and it's clean and it's good. Lots of veggies, lots of fruit, lots of nuts. And I eat no commercial stuff at all. And when I say no commercial stuff, for my curries, I get a good coconut cream. I have butter. What else? I don't eat sausages or anything like that. That's salamis or these type of things that use preservatives. I just don't have them at all. I don't take any medicines or anything like that. I don't, or vitamins. I believe I get them from my food. Don't get me wrong. If I feel a cold coming on, I'll take the vitamin C. If I had some cramps in the legs, I'll take some magnesium. But I don't take any medicine apart from emergency. But if there's an emergency, I'm the first to go to a doctor. I mean, when there was COVID, I took a vaccine. But apart from that, I don't. So I try and keep anything that's foreign to my body, I try and keep it out of my body apart from decent food. There is one other factor, of course. By profession, a number of professions, but I ended up, my final profession was being a Chinese herbalist, and which I studied for some like 9 years. And of course, with that, I know Chinese herbs, and I prescribed them, and I had a clinic, and I was the first Australian, the first foreigner, Waigaran, to open up a Chinese a clinic for Chinese medicine. So there's a range of herbs which I like and I take, and and I do take them, and I make a tonic up, and I make them put them in port wine, and later of an evening before I go to bed, I might have a tot, and I just have these Chinese herbs which have gone into a port wine, so I take that as a tonic. So that's things a little bit separate from the other thing, but that's basically it. One cheeky bugger said to me, he said, "Oh, you're 9 years old," he said, you're getting on a bit. He said, "What about sex?" And I said, "Oh, like the rabbi and the priest, that's a bit personal, but I'll tell you a story. This is a true story, and in its own way it answers things." This is the Queen and Prince Philip. Both have now departed to the world of royalty in the deep blue yonder. But anyway, I was in the Korean War, Korean veteran. That was 70 years ago when it ended. I was a young 18, 19-year-old then, and there's a photograph of me there at that time. Only a kid. But what happened was in 2000, I think it was, there was a celebrating 50 years. That's 20 years ago. But there's a guy called Vic Lowe. He's a bit of a rogue, but a very funny fellow and cheeky, Australian cheeky type of guy, cheekiness. But anyway, they were in Korea commemorating this. He was in Korea with some others, commemorating the 50 years. And it was a Saturday afternoon, and Prince Philip came up and poked him in the chest like that. Said, "What's that medal, soldier?" And Vic said, I don't know about your army, sir, but in our army, that's assault. Of course, in the Australian army, you can yell and scream, but you can't put your finger, an officer or a sergeant can't lay their finger on a soldier. You can charge them with assault. And he said, Prince Philip's eyes are a bloody Australian. So that was okay. The next day was a formal occasion, and everybody's lined up, and they're all standing to attention, all the people from the various nations. There were 21 nations went to Korea and fought in the Korean War on the South Korean side. And they're all standing there to attention. And the Queen is walking past, and she's walking past each one and talking to a few of them. And she walked past Vic Lowe. She didn't say anything to him. And Prince Philip is walking 1 metre, 3 feet behind the Queen. This is a true story. And as Prince Philip walked past with his arms behind his back, and he's just strolling 1 step at a time behind the Queen, keeping that 1 metre distance, he goes past Vic Lowe, and Vic Lowe says, he's standing to attention, he says to Prince Philip, "Getting any sex?" And Prince Philip, who was getting on in years, and he just kept walking, 1, 2, 3, then he turned around and looked at Vic and he said, "Occasionally." So there you are, occasionally. That's a true story, one for the books. On this, over the last 10 years or so, I've put out a number of books. And I'm just talking about the Korean War, and so I was in a few conflicts. But I've recently taken one book, Three Wars a Soldier, and I've re-edited it and added some photographs and some drawings of situations. And this is it here. I'll just read the blurb on the back of it. It gives you a little bit of an idea of what it's about. It's basically first 32, 35 years of my life. 3 Wars a Soldier, a lively half a life. The Korean War, the Indonesian confrontation, and the Vietnam War were the 3 conflicts during which I was on active service. This book is about the first 40 years of my life, commencing as a bush kid from North Queensland, who put up his age to join the army and fight in the Korean War as well as training in Japan. After spending time as a civilian and marrying, I then enlisted with one commando company, after which I was off to Sabah, Borneo with the Royal Australian Engineers. Later with the Army Intelligence Corps, my next posting was to Vietnam in 1968, where my job was as a counterintelligence operator, spy. I've been told this is a man's book, as it is not a romance, nor is it a tearjerker. It is more about a naive country lad who lived and loved life to the full, courtesy of the Australian Army. This is storytelling with a difference. The other books are spiritual, mystic, because they were channeled down by guides, and I mean, I've sold, I mean, I don't know how many hundred have actually gone out. And the books are the Cathar Dialogues. That was with my friend Jim Cameron, who's been dead now 15 years. And the Cathar Codex. And then the Cathar Chronicles. Now these are all to do with Catharism, which I'm involved with. There was a Dr. Arthur Gurdam in England, and he wrote Catharism, Reincarnation, We Are One Another, The Great Heresy. And he really got Catharism rolling in the English-speaking world. Since then, my books, there's been a couple of others, the Cathar Message, which I highly recommended. I've spoken about them before on YouTube. But I've had people, it's not, well, probably now, it'll be 2 weeks ago, but this gentleman, Rick, and he emailed me, and I get these every so often, but he just said, when he was young, he had this message, it was loud and clear, and it just said, Rick, and that he said, the second part of your life will be the most important, and that's what you're really born for. So he said he's waited all his life for the second part of his life. And but then he hit the ripe old age of 50. And he said, I read your books, the Cathar Dialogues, the Cathar Codex, and the Cathar Chronicles. And he said, when I was reading the Cathar Chronicles, he said, it was as if you were there speaking to me. But he said, I can tell you, that was the point, and with reading those books was the point where my life changed, and now I'm out. He's endeavouring to follow a Cathar path. But I get every so often, and I've made some wonderful friends, people who have read these books, and also with the YouTube over the years, mainly in France. So that really pleases me to know that that writing the books, putting the time and effort into doing it, was worthwhile. I believe those who are meant to read the books, one way or another, they'll arrive at that situation by, as they say, emanation, and that is like likes attract like. So I don't worry too much about promoting it. But I must say that that's something that over the last 15 years that I've been involved with. These books I'm particularly proud of. There's other books that I've written as well, and I'm also happy with them. A couple of books on poetry, which one I'm re-editing at the moment because it's all over the place. So I'm trying to put it in a bit more logical order, and then within a month or so that should be out. That's Petals, Leaves and Thorns. So if you're thinking of buying it, please don't buy it for at least another month. And by the way, that's the wonderful thing about Amazon. If you do happen to write a book on Amazon, that even though you've written it, you still can take it out of publication, re-edit it, and then put it back into publication. But once you've sold it to a publisher, well, you no longer have that ability to do that. I think I've covered enough for today. I've rambled on a bit. Please excuse me. But yes, I wish you all the very best, and thank you for listening. Bye for now.